Welcome back to Wrestling with Horror, and today we're going to be looking at the top times that professional wrestlers have appeared in horror movies. Number 1. Goldberg. In 2005, Goldberg, the man who once had an unprecedented undefeated streak in WCW, decided he wanted to get his feet wet in the horror genre. He appears in a movie called Santa's Sleigh, where Goldberg plays good old Saint Nick as a demonic, evil figure. In this film, Goldberg plays a demon who had lost a bet with an angel, so he has to become the giver of toys to children all around the world. Now, when that bet ends, he decides to return to his evil ways and go on a massive killing spree. During this massive killing spree, Goldberg uses his trademark spear, which always led to the jackhammer, which was his finishing maneuver. Also, as an Easter egg to us wrestling fans, a post-credit scene has Goldberg uttering his famous catchphrase, "Who's next?" Now, while Goldberg was a murderer and an evil demon in this movie, something good did come from the whole experience. He actually met his wife, Wanda, during the filming of this movie, and they have been married ever since, sharing one child together. Number 2. CM Punk. In 2019, Mr. Brooks, who had yet to return to the wrestling business, was doing several different movies at the time. One in particular is called Girl on the Third Floor. This film is about a man who moves into a rundown house in Illinois to fix it up so he and his wife can live in this house and start their own family. During his efforts to restore the house to its former glory, weird things begin to happen. People die, spirits appear, all the things that we all love in horror movies. A fun fact about this film, it was actually filmed in a supposed haunted house in Frankfort, Illinois, although I'm not sure how fun that would be. CM Punk's character in the film also has a problem with alcohol, struggling with it for many years. Now, in real life, Punk is a well-known straight-edge man, meaning that he does not drink, he does not do drugs, he prefers to be clean all the time. Number 3, Kane. In 2006, Glenn Jacobs, also known as Kane in the wrestling business, was cast in a movie called See No Evil, where he plays Jacob Goodnight, a reclusive man in an abandoned hotel. Kane would also go on to play the character once more in a sequel called See No Evil 2. During filming, Kane became so proficient with the hook and chain that his character uses in the film that they did not need to use the CGI that they originally planned, and Kane himself did the scenes live. Along with that, he also performed all of his own stunts for the film. When it came time to market the film for the public, Kane's character in WWE began targeting other wrestlers' eyes. This was a technique that they used to garner interest for the film and make people want to go see it more. In last little bit of fun trivia for this film, an early draft of the script actually had Jacob Goodnight without eyelids. That would have been interesting, to say the least. These days, Kane is no longer a demonic character in WWE, but he is actually the mayor of Knoxville, Tennessee. Number 4, El Santo. El Santo is often referred to as one of the greatest legends in the history of Mexican sports. The luchador had a career that spanned almost 5 decades. Along with his professional wrestling career, El Santo also had a film career that spanned almost as much time. Throughout this film career, he appeared in 53 different projects, always as himself, and a great number of those films being horror. The first horror film he actually appeared in was an early zombie film simply called Santo versus the Zombies. Now, majority of wrestling fans have probably heard the name El Santo at some point in the past, but what you may not know is that in Mexico, he actually became a folk hero and a symbol for justice for the common people. That's how popular this man was. El Santo's legacy lives on to this day in the luchador world, the professional wrestling world, and the horror world. Number 5, Roddy Roddy Piper. In 1988, Roddy Piper appeared in a horror comedy film known as They Live. This film was directed by John Carpenter, the same man who brought us horror classics such as Halloween, The Thing, The Fog, and so many others. John Carpenter was actually so impressed with Roddy Piper's performance at WrestleMania 3 that he decided to cast Piper in this film. And to show his respect for Carpenter, Piper often credited his later success in wrestling to John Carpenter and the success of They Live. Everybody at one point or another has heard Piper's famous line from the movie. What you may not know is that this line was actually ad-libbed in something he had scribbled down in a notebook of his. This line was also used later on in his wrestling career. Also, during their famous fight scene, Piper and Keith David decided that they wanted their fight to look real as possible, so they decided to duke it out for real. John Carpenter was so impressed by this that he decided to keep that take in the film. Number 6, Diamond Dallas Page. Now, DDP has appeared in several horror movies throughout the years, but the two that we're going to focus on for this video are The Devil's Rejects and Penance Lane. In Devil's Rejects, he plays a character named Billy Ray Snapper. This character was often seen along the side of Danny Trejo. During the scene where Bill Moseley's character was kicked in the ribs by Diamond Dallas Page, he said that it hurt, but he was honored to have been kicked by a world champion. Unfortunately, Page's character did not appear in the sequel 3 from Hell because that he and Rob Zombie felt that the character just didn't fit the story, but there were no hard feelings from either side. In the film Penance Lane, DDP plays a biker character who is only seen for just a few minutes, but is the friend of Tyler Mane's character in the film. He brings him weapons to fight off whatever Tyler Mane has to fight off in that film. I'll let you find that out for yourselves when you go watch it. Another fun fact about Penance Lane, it also features 2 more professional wrestlers, one of which that we will get to in a second. But the second is Hall of Famer Booker T. He appears as an inmate who tells Tyler Mane's character that he needs to go figure out what happened at this particular house. And number 7, Tyler Mane. Before we get to the horror movies, we'll start out with his wrestling career. Now, he trained briefly with Stu Hart in Canada before going on tours with All Japan and New Japan in the late 1980s and early 1990s. In 1993, he signed a deal with WCW where he teamed alongside Vinny Vegas. Vinny Vegas went on to become, well, Kevin Nash. Diesel. Tyler Mane left WCW after Vinny Vegas had left for greener pastures. At that point, he decided to sign with a new company that would become known as the UWF, ran by Herb Abrams, who was the focal point of an episode of Dark Side of the Ring called Cocaine and Cowboy Boots. During his time with the company, he became the only UWF MGM Grand champion. Unfortunately, he retired in 1996 after UWF had dissolved and Herb Abrams had passed away. But not to worry, Tyler Mane had a bright future ahead of him in film. Now, he's been in numerous horror films over the years, but I think the one that most people remember him for is playing Michael Myers in Rob Zombie's Halloween and Halloween 2. Now, this Myers was larger, stronger, more brutal than any Myers that we had seen in the past. Now, this film did not sit well with a lot of Halloween fans due to it being Rob Zombified, if you will. It's known as like a white trash version of Michael Myers that nobody wanted. Now, that's not to say that there's nothing good in this film, because there are a few good things. I mean, heck, the second half of the movie is basically a shot-for-shot remake of the 1978 version, with a few changes here and there. Most of them not good. Tying back to Dallas Page once more, he also appeared in Devil's Rejects in an uncredited role. So that's our list. I intentionally left some names out because I felt that maybe I'd want to go back and make a second list sometime in the future. But until then, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I will see you next time on Wrestling with Horror.